Hi everyone, welcome to my weekly episode of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Lauren Urbonus with Lauren's Scraplot, and this is my weekly how-to video series. So if you're just tuning in, I have videos posted every Tuesday on my YouTube channel, Lauren's Scraplot, and you're welcome to check out all the past inventory of video tutorials as well. If you enjoy them, please make sure to like and subscribe so that I can make sure to keep going. And I am excited to show you what I have in store for you today. All right, so if you guys are like me, many of you love getting a new catalog. You love opening it up and seeing all of the fun projects and products on all of the pages. But if you're also like me, sometimes you'll look at a project that Stampin' Up has given us and wonder, how did they do that? So today what I wanted to do was to show you one of the projects straight out of the catalog. So this isn't my design. However, I've sat down and worked out measurements that I think work for this project. They may be a little different than what Stampin' Up ended up doing, but I found that they worked for me. So what I want to do is show you how to make this little card, which looks pretty similar to this guy over here. And we're going to use, of course, the Penguin Place bundle to do that. So to start, and if you'd like to follow along with me, you'll need to cut some pieces of paper. So two pieces we're going to start with are just Jade. So for my base right here, this is a mini card if you're wondering. This is a 5.5 by 7-inch piece of paper, and I've scored in the middle at 3.5. Fold that in half to make my card. And I am just noticing my screen is backwards here. This is going to be interesting. Okay, hold on. I might have to unzoom you then. Let's do that because I know that one's right. Okay, no nice zoomed in look. Here we go. So this next piece is going to be our layer on the front of the card. This is measuring 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. And if you've noticed, I've done a little bit of embossing here up at the top, and I used the Stampin' Up Wintery embossing folder. So that's this little guy right here. And I just did the very top of my card because, as you can see, that's all that's going to be shown on the front. You don't need to do anything else. And while you're doing some trimming, let's cut a few more pieces. So this white piece, this largest one, is going on the inside of my card, like so, just so I have something to write on. So this one is also going to measure 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. That will go on the inside of your card. Now the three pieces that we're going to have a little bit of fun with here on the front, you will end up wanting to trim them later, but I'm giving you measurements that are a bit larger so that it doesn't really matter where you end up stamping. If you've made a different stamping mark than I did, it's not going to mess you up. So they are as follows: 3 1/4 by 5, 3 1/4 by 3.5, 3 1/4 by 2. All right. So let's get a few pieces out of our way before we start. We're going to just attach that inside of our card to the base, and then we'll also probably want to attach that embossed piece on the card as well. So I like to just get these out of my way so I don't have to worry about them later. Like so. And I'm just actually thinking about it now. And I think I'm going to hold off on attaching this piece because it's really nice for me to be able to build my white pieces on top of it. And then if I have to trim anything, it's really easy to do while this is loose. So you can set this one aside for the moment. You don't need it. What you do need are those 3 white pieces. We're going to stamp with just Jade a little part of a snow hill on each of them. So just keep in mind, you don't want your hills to look exactly the same as each other. So this background here is so large that you can just pick, you know, one side to start with here. Put that up near the top of your page. And then we've got, you know, a nice little side section and maybe a flat bottom. Oh, make sure there's lots of ink on there. There we go. Okay, so what I've done for those three is I've stamped them just near the top of each of my pieces. You don't need the ink anymore for that part, but we will need it later to do some tree stamping. So now with a pair of scissors, I am going to just gently cut a slight little border on the top of this hill. Okay, so I don't have a die for this, and it's actually kind of easier to do it this way, I think, with all these little pieces. Just gently giving a little bit of a buffer. You never want to cut right on your colored line. Okay. There we go. So now I have three little hill pieces that I can start attaching to my base. So the largest one is going to be the most important one for me to pay attention to right now. I'm going to put some adhesive just on the bottom of my green piece here, because then no matter what, I know that that bottom piece will be attached. The other three you can attach straight onto the white, down either side, and on the top of the hill. Okay? So keep in mind, you will want space for a little tree and a little penguin to be in this top space. So you don't want your hill right up to the top because a little tree isn't going to fit there. So make sure when you move it down that there is enough space. And I've pre-cut a couple things here for a nice little tree to go in there, and then that little penguin. So when you're happy with where it is, you can go ahead and put this part down. Move that out of the way for the moment. And what I mentioned was you may end up having some of this white hanging off the bottom. So if you had, you know, stamped this hill any lower, you would have definitely had more to cut off on the top, less to cut off on the bottom. But there was no exact measurement given for you of where you needed to stamp. So I didn't want to define that for you. So leave this for now because we're going to do all the rest of these pieces. We'll trim them all at the same time. Okay, so this guy now, once again, keeping in mind we would like a little bit of a buffer in there for some trees. You're going to decide, okay, this is perhaps where I'd like this one to sit. And this layer is your choice. You can either put it up on dimensionals or you can layer it flat. I did personally think it looked a lot nicer when I popped it up on dimensionals because it gave my trees just something to sit on and kind of tuck under just a little bit. Okay, so once again, focusing more on your top parts here than anything else. We're going to decide where you want this to sit and just gently set that down. Now your last piece, this one you definitely want up on dimensionals. However, before you attach it, if you want some sort of a sentiment on here, I do suggest putting that on now, just because it will make life a whole lot easier. So I chose the same one that the catalog had. I'm going to stamp in real red, and this one just says, be cool, be chill, be merry. And I'm stamping it right, not at the bottom, because keep in mind I may end up trimming some off. Just put it up teeny tiny bit into kind of the middle of your space there. Okay? Keep the red away from the rest of your projects. I don't know why, but it is my nemesis. And I just get red everywhere when I start playing with it sometimes. So here we go. Sorry, I ran out of dimensionals. Let's keep going. grab some dimensionals, put them on the back of this guy here. Maybe throw one in the middle. And this is the last one you're going to pop up on your card. Okay. Once again, give yourself just a little bit of a buffer somewhere. And you know what? I actually think I have plenty of a buffer. If I'm looking on the back here, I'm going to hold that off and do my trimming because I've done this one perfectly. So I'm just going to do this with my little trimmer so you can see it on screen. And there we go. I've cut through my extras and now this one fits perfectly on the bottom here. Okay, so there we go. Very, very fun. Easy to work with now that I can throw it on my card. So grabbing some dimensionals for the back of that piece. I am going to get this mounted on my card base and then I will add some details to it. Okay. We definitely do have some stamps with like a snowbank and dies and stuff. So if you're not a fussy cutting person, go ahead and just substitute one of those in. I just used the cutting and assumed they did as well because this snowbank here was from the set. So here we go. I've mounted it all up. Here comes the fun part. You have some stamping to do and you have some fussy cutting to do here, okay? So this little bundle here does not come with dies. It comes with an adorable punch that will cut out this little penguin for you. However, it doesn't cut out this little penguin. It also cuts out feet for you. So you'll need 3 of them because you need 2 for this little guy and 1 for this. So let me show you my little array of things here. Okay, so here we go. I have these all prepared. So bottom penguin, I stamped both of them in Memento Black and I punched him out. And then I did Mango Melody for his little feet. So you'll need 3 feet, like I mentioned. Those you can do with the punch. These pieces I had to end up fussy cutting. So that's okay. You just kind of sit down with some Netflix and chill. So that little guy is in Memento Black. You do 3 trees in just Jade, and then we're going to end up stamping a couple other ones on the card itself. If you don't want to stamp, you could always cut out 5 trees. Hat here is with Cherry Cobbler, a little beak. We're going to end up cutting out with, or from the Mango Melody, and then the little scarf right there is in the Balmy Blue. Okay, so let's get building. Oh, and I need to stamp his little beak on here. Okay, so Mango Melody, little beak on this guy. There you go. Okay, might as well start with him because he looks ready to go. I am going to grab myself a couple glue dots to start attaching things. So for his scarf, I'm just going to put glue dots on either side of him, like so. And you can just put that right across his neck. And his 2 little feet can each have 1 glue dot. And they will go just on the bottom of his body. Okay. Like so. So there's your cute little penguin. You can pop him up on dimensionals and he rests just in this little area above your sentiments. Okay, so actually I think what they did was just dimensionals over top of his head and then a little bit of adhesive on his belly. And I'm not going to take the backings off yet because I want to show you why we did that. This piece here is popped up. So if I had my little penguin popped up both on the tummy and the head, he would end up being kind of lopsided like that. So by putting a dimensional on his head, it's making him the same height as this layer. And just by putting some tape on his belly, you're giving him a chance to stay attached to that section. Okay, so that's all you need to worry about there. We can go ahead and start building this little guy as well. So for his hat, we're going to attach that with a little glue dot. And then some sort of little beak. You can either use a glue dot for this, or if you're worried it's a little too much, you can go ahead and just use some liquid glue. But I find a glue dot is really, really easy to use. Okay, so I'm gonna just do that. His beak is sticking out like so. And I also want him to have a foot. His foot's gonna go just right back in the bottom of this little guy here, okay? So as I mentioned, I did cut out 3 trees. I'm gonna take one right now and attach it to the card, and then I'll show you how to put the other 2 on as well. So this first tree does not need a dimensional. You're just gonna put it flat onto the top of the card. So somewhere on the left in this top space up here. And then your penguin, you're going to put up on dimensionals. And you can put dimensionals all over him because he fits nicely in this green space, which is all on the same level. Okay, and he can slide down that hill. Have fun like crazy. Okay, stamping. Couple little trees. This is always the fun part. Okay, so ink up your little tree with the Just Jade. Make sure you're nice and happy with that. And then spot number 1 is going right here. Nice and holding it for a couple seconds. You can rock it back and forth. And see, I missed a little. So the nice thing with photopolymers, just put it right back where it was, and it will fill in. Okay, and your second one that you're going to stamp is up in this section here. So find a nice spot for that. Like so. You can also add more trees if you wanted, perhaps one, down here, one over here. It's completely up to you. This is your card. I'm just kind of replicating it a little bit more according to what the catalog picture was. Now my other 2 that I had already done, I am going to pop those 2 up on dimensionals just because. And if you put the dimensionals more at the top of the trees, then in case they're hanging on to a layer underneath them, it won't really matter. Okay, if you're worried about them staying attached, go ahead and put a glue dot or a little bit of tape down in the bottom of the tree. But for the most part, these dimensionals are very strong, so you shouldn't really have to worry about that. Okay, so we've just put one tree beside this guy here, and one tree beside this guy, and you will notice there's a difference in shading between my greens, my freshly inked and my dried. That will happen. Okay, so these freshly inked ones, they'll dry and they'll look very similar to this, so don't stress about that. Yeah, so here's my sample once again, and you can see in the catalog very similar to what they had. Now if you look really closely, there are some little dots kind of hiding out here. These to me look like some of the gems that we used to have. We don't unfortunately have them right now, but if you look in the catalog, any sort of silver little rhinestone, clear, or silver enamel dots, any sort of thing like that will give you this same effect. Another option for you is to take some of your Tombow liquid glue, and if you just put dots of it, when it dries, it will actually dry clear. So I didn't have this on the sample because I didn't want to bump it, but you can end up giving yourself a really fun kind of snowy look simply by adding these glue dots all over your card. I'm trying to copy where they have them. Okay, so you won't be able to see it now. It just looks like I've put white dots all over my project. But when they dry, they will dry clear and it will look like I have snowflakes all over my card as well. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's project, and I hope this kind of gives you a little inspiration to not only see the projects in the catalog and use them, you know, as an inspiration for purchasing, but actually an inspiration for creating as well. Because there are a lot of really neat tips and tricks that Stampin' Up offers us, and if you actually start playing around, you'll soon see where those are. So see you guys next week, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!